All right. Hey, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell here with WHAS 11 News in Louisville, Kentucky. And that's where we're starting off with a live look outside from our First Savings Bank camera. This is from over in Jeffersonville, overlooking downtown Louisville. Now, we are dry in Louisville as of this live stream, which is just about 10 minutes before 8 p.m. But we do have some rain that's going to be rolling in tonight and into the day on Wednesday, so I want to get you ahead of that. But first, let's take a quick look back at how much rain we've picked up so far this week. Your 48-hour estimated rainfall here. So this would take into account from this point on Sunday, primarily Monday's rainfall. As you can tell, there's definitely a bullseye. So if you take a look at the average, you can average how much rain we've seen across Kentuckiana. The average has been a little over an inch there. But we had a bullseye, which if you were watching Monday Night Football last night, we had that red scroll at the bottom of your screen. That was the flash flood warning that was in place through 1 o'clock in the morning. So that was until 1 a.m. And this was due to, just take a look at these contours here in the pinks and the purples from New Washington over to Bedford. So this was especially for Clark County, Indiana, over into Trimble County and also portions of far northern Oldham County here. We're just talking a lot of rainfall across the area. And there were some reports of anywhere between 4 to 7 inches of actually ground truth rainfall in those spots. So that was due to a storm that kind of just like trained over the same areas, back built. So additional showers continue to roll over the same spot yesterday evening. Thankfully, I didn't see too much in terms of major storm reports out of that outside of the just high rainfall totals. So I do think the fact that it fell late evening, most people were already back home, hopefully watching Monday Night Football, just in for the night. And we didn't have any water rescues or anything to worry about there. Now let's take a look ahead at tomorrow because we are issuing another weather impact alert day due to strong storms. So tomorrow we'll have rounds of showers and storms track through the region. First round will move through late tonight and into Wednesday morning. Second round could develop late afternoon and into the evening hours. Now your main threats will be heavy rainfall, gusty winds. Obviously lightning as well. When you have thunderstorms, that means lightning's there. You will see I have isolated tornado, and I know that tends to freak people out, understandably so, even when it's just a threat that's there. This is very low end, but anytime you have a surface low, so an area of low pressure that's tracking through the region, it can cause those winds to come from different directions as you go throughout the atmosphere, and that's what you need for tornadoes to form. Now, there's still a lot of limiting factors tomorrow, but just know that there is a non-zero tornado threat spin up by late tomorrow afternoon, more so tomorrow evening if we see it. I'm not quite sure all the ingredients will come together for that. And because of that, you'll notice, I'll show you in a few minutes here, our severe weather outlook for tomorrow. We're still at a level 1 out of 5. But just make sure you're prepared. You have several ways to receive warnings, as should be the case year-round. Now, this is a different outlook, so this is not your severe weather outlook. This is called excessive rainfall, and this is from the Weather Prediction Center. And this takes into account not only rainfall rates that are possible, but also how saturated is the ground per se. So yesterday we were just under the lowest risk, the green, the marginal risk, the level 1 out of 4 for heavy rainfall that could lead to flash flooding. Part of the reason for that, our ground was very dry. But now that we've got some rain on it, I know our lawns are definitely thanking Mother Nature right now because we definitely needed it. But our grounds are definitely a bit more saturated. And because of that, it's not going to take as much for flash flooding to become an issue. So if we get, heavy rainfall overnight, especially if we get rounds of it, what you're looking at here is that slight risk level 2 out of 4 for heavy rainfall or your risk for flooding concern in the yellow. I know that says today, but it technically takes us through 7 or 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Weather outlooks are interesting because a lot of times they go through a certain time for us. But for tomorrow into tomorrow night, this starts to shift a little bit more to the east, encompassing basically areas along and east of I-65. And then you'll notice by Thursday, a cold front will push the heaviest rain off to our east and southeast. Friday, Saturday, that hangs closer to the Carolinas and into Virginia. Now here's what the satellite and radar looks like right now. A lot of radar activity down, draping through Arkansas. Missouri is at an active day, moving into West Tennessee. We're also seeing some roll through Indiana, Illinois, and yes, Kentucky as well. Of course, even though today has been a drier day, that moisture has still been hanging around. I know I felt it. I went for a walk this morning. That sun peeked out, and it suddenly felt kind of like a sauna because the dew points were so high, even though the temperatures were low. Dew points in the upper 60s, lower 70s. Pretty gross unless it is actively raining. So temperatures today, they did manage to make it up into the low to mid 80s due to more peaks of sunshine around, so technically above normal. We're sitting at 79 currently in Louisville, lots of 70s all across Kentuckiana. And as we continue onwards, so this is how much rain we could pick up. I'm going to put this back in time. As we head throughout tonight, into the day tomorrow, and into tomorrow night. Now, I don't want you to focus on, oh, I live in Bardstown. It says 3.8 inches. This is model output. It very rarely has exactly where those heaviest localized spots are going to be. But just take a look at the range. We're talking probably at least 1 inch for most of us. Up to 4 inches possible in some spots. And as we saw, if you get any kind of back building or training like we did last night, we had localized reports between 4 and 7 inches in some of those spots that were included in that flash flood warning. So I'd say 1 to 3 is a good bet. 4 inches, though, not out of the question. That's in the next 24 to 36 hours here. Now, as we head into Thursday, I'm not super confident on that 60%. It basically depends on which model you look at. I think we'll still have some lingering rain around Thursday. Could be in the morning, and then sometimes behind a system you can still have some showers and storms bubble up during the heat of the afternoon. So I'm thinking 40 to 60. We don't do 50 here. So 40 or 60 on Thursday. Friday, most of us really trending drier, and then Saturday and Sunday, as it stands right now, I kept rain chances out. I will show you how that could change, but I do think most of us will get to enjoy a nice weekend. So here's a severe weather outlook for today. This, of course, lines up with the stormy activity that they're seeing in Oklahoma, Arkansas, down to Texas. And then once we head into tomorrow, as I mentioned, we're only included in a level 1 out of 5 here. Would not be surprised if some area is included in a level 2 out of 5 once we get the update for tomorrow morning. So if you're watching GMK tomorrow, would not be surprised if we see an upgrade here to a level 2 out of 5 at some point. But your greatest threat still looking to be heavy rainfall, strong winds, and as I mentioned off the top, can't rule out a very isolated spin-up tornado threat. That is only if all of the ingredients align. A big limiting factor tomorrow will be, can the atmosphere destabilize enough between the rounds of rain? Because, you know, if you've been around here long enough, you watch weather enough, when you have a morning round and then you're waiting for potentially more afternoon or evening storms, a lot of times they can bust because you're not giving the atmosphere enough time to recover, you're not allowing enough sunshine and heat and storm fuel. But just know that because we have that area of low pressure, I have to mention that there is a chance for rotation. So let's take a look at the current radar here. Once again, if you are in Louisville, you still got some dry time. There's some noise showing up there. As that sun starts to set, we have some rain rolling through E-Town, Radcliffe, up to Fort Knox, Litchfield. That's a pretty gusty storm rolling through right there with some heavy rainfall. Some additional scattered activity bubbling up around Bowling Green, and then for southern Indiana folks, here's some steady rain that's starting to move into Jasper and should eventually continue to spread east, northeastward here into Paoli, eventually Bedford, Salem, Corydon as well. So let's take a look at the hour-by-hour Futurecast. Of course, always take these with a grain of salt here, but this should give you just a general idea of what we're looking at as we head into tonight and tomorrow morning. So the idea here is that storms are rolling through. Some additional isolated activity kind of out ahead of that line that's rolling in from the west, but increasing in coverage and continuing to lift northeastward tonight. Now, this particular model has liked having some widespread rain kind of right in time for that morning commute tomorrow. So I'd say anywhere between 5 and 8 a.m., some heavy rainfall at times. Should become more scattered in nature, spotty in nature as we head into the afternoon. But then by the evening hours, you can see especially south, along and south of the parkways, those are some strong looking storms that are wanting to roll through here. And then still some storm activity wanting to fire up through early Thursday morning. So that's a pretty active radar. This is what I was talking about with Thursday's rain chances not being super confident, because it really depends on when this morning round rolls out. And then if it sets up southeast of here, you know, many of us could be staying dry on Thursday. But yes, a messy morning commute tomorrow. And because of that risk for gusty winds and especially heavy rainfall, we did make tomorrow a weather impact alert day, simply because it's going to be a messy day. So we're expecting widespread rainfall, gusty winds, of course, frequent lightning, and just allow yourself extra time to get where you need to go tomorrow. You know, take it a little bit slower on the expressway, because those roads will likely be wet, especially in the morning hours. And visibility may lower too at times, you know, when you have widespread heavy rainfall. So we'll have some lingering showers on Thursday, maybe some pop-up storms during the afternoon hours. Friday is trending mostly dry. Saturday and Sunday looking nice. And then early next week is a bit of a question mark, because it's dependent on an upper level low to our southeast and potentially even some tropical activity. So this is one of the weather models as we head into later on this weekend. Of course, now it doesn't look like, hold on, give me just a moment. There we go. Okay. So our Futurecast here, Thursday, some lingering rain. The resolution with these long ranges aren't great, so it always looks like it's a lot more rain than it actually is. Friday, trending drier with decreasing clouds. And you can see some moisture to the southeast, just trying to keep nudging in a little bit. It's real all dependent on an area of low pressure in the southeast. So that could keep a little bit of moisture in here, but I think for the most part, you're looking at a pretty nice weekend. Now, by Monday into Tuesday, you could get more of these nudges, especially if you get any kind of tropical activity setting up. But as it stands, I took those rain chances out of the weekend, and I think your Friday is looking good as well. Obviously, we have high school football, we have events going on around town, around Kentuckiana, Friday through the weekend. And it's trending a lot drier than what we're expecting here over the next 24 to 48 hours. So I'm going to keep this 7-day forecast up for a moment. I'm going to hop over to our National Weather Service chat to make sure I'm not missing out on any new information there. We had a special weather statement that was for Grayson, Breckenridge, Hardin counties through 8:15 due to wind gusts up to about 40 miles per hour. It's basically what we've seen so far tonight. Yeah, that storm over Litchfield, that one looked pretty, that one's probably pretty loud right there. Let me pull back up the radar so you can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, this storm, you can see that outflow that jumped right out ahead of it. But storm in Litchfield dropping some heavy rainfall there. Looks like not a ton of lightning, but enough to probably make some noise. And some gusty winds up to about 40 miles per hour. Additional storms forming just northwest of Bowling Green around Morgantown. And then the main swaths there on the south side and the north side here. So really expect those storms to increase in coverage as we head into tonight and tomorrow morning. We're going to have basically rounds of rain as we carry on throughout your Wednesday tomorrow. So Once again, heavy rainfall is a threat. Your excessive rainfall outlook for tonight and into tomorrow is looking at that slight risk. So this is really for tonight in the yellow, and then tomorrow it starts to shift off to the east as those rounds of rain continue to also push eastward there. Once we head into Thursday and beyond, that really starts to push off to our southeast. Of course, we've been needing all this rain. We've been talking about this for weeks. We've been showing these in our weathercast here. The drought monitor, that's continued to worsen across our Kentuckiana viewing area over the last several weeks, just due to the drier pattern that we've been in. You know, we've had a lot of that moderate drought really spread throughout the area. So with that, we've been seeing a rainfall deficit, and the soil moisture has been low, very dry. And on top of that, when we had, you know, those stretches of hotter temperatures in the 90s, that can also act to dry out the vegetation, stress the trees. I'm sure you've been seeing a lot more trees turning more so brown a bit earlier. And then you have the rain on top of that, causing them to unfortunately drop their leaves a little bit earlier than we would like. But all of that is just due to the weather pattern that, of course, we have been under lately. So for tomorrow, once again, right now, level 1 out of 5 for severe storms. Know that that may increase. So tune into GMK with Matt Breland tomorrow to see the latest look at the severe weather outlook. But we're talking heavy rain, strong winds, and as I mentioned, with a low pressure center, can't rule out a spin up tornado. Don't be scared, just be prepared. And that would be obviously worst case scenario. But we'll walk you through the Futurecast one more time. I'm actually going to draw this back just a hair. Let's see if you can see what I'm seeing. Okay, great. So walking you through this, some scattered activity that we're seeing this evening. That is actually, that looks pretty good compared to what we're seeing right now. So some scattered activity around Litchfield, E-Town, spreading up into Louisville if it hangs together by like 10 o'clock tonight. Scattered showers and storms, they may be noisy at times. And this was the model run that just looks like, whew, that is heavy rain tomorrow and pretty widespread as well. We'll see if it's that kind of congealed into one line like that, but I would say between 5 and 8 tomorrow, expect wet roads. And then should become spottier, you know, not necessarily a 0% chance midday, but spottier chance through the afternoon. And then I think if we have severe weather, it would have to wait until the evening because you would have to give the atmosphere time to recover. So maybe some strong storms. This particular model wants it to kind of form down to the south, but the low will be off to our north. So that could be good news in terms of lowering that tornado threat. And then some scattered activity taking us through tomorrow night. So we've been wanting the rain. The rain is here, and the good news is it wants to move out for the end of the work week and into the weekend. So here's another look at your 7-day forecast here. We're going to wrap things up with this tonight. Once again, tomorrow is a weather impact alert day. We'll have some lingering showers on Thursday, drying out Friday through the weekend. And then the question is whether or not we can get some of that moisture from the southeast kind of funneling back in here by the end of the weekend and into early next week. And of course, as we get closer, we'll continue to fine-tune that forecast. But I want to thank you all for tuning into this live stream. Once again, this has been Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell talking through these graphics tonight from WHAS 11 in Louisville, Kentucky. Get ready for some storms tonight. Rounds of rain on the way tomorrow. Keep that umbrella handy. Allow yourself some extra time to get where you need to go tomorrow. And be sure to tune in tonight at 11 p.m. for WHAS 11 Night Team. And we'll take the latest look at the radar and your forecast then. In the meantime, have a great rest of your evening.